So this is our Horizon masterpiece. It's taking into consideration all of the product expertise that you see in the showroom. So from lighting, electronics, seating, interiors, and it's integrating it all into a real use case. So this is a mid-size SUV, standard wheelbase. You're going to notice as it reconfigures, it's going to seem a lot bigger, but really same size, all focused on sustainability. So we care about CO2 neutrality from our own internal production and materials to the production downstream at our supply base, with the intention to be CO2 neutral by 2020 or 2045. All from the architecture to the recyclability, the seats fully recyclable. You have the Aura Loop here replacing your traditional foam, as well as all sustainable materials. You have NAFI Vision, Aquarium Sense, artificial leather, and really being built with that modularity concept. So this vehicle is meant to be the vehicle that can do it all, a true cockpit of the future that enables different use cases that I think we can all relate to. And also you notice, if you go inside the interior, it's very much like a living room. So it's really meant to be a Scandinavian, minimalistic type of vibe. You really don't want all those big touch screens and all of the content when you don't need it. So it's about having on-demand HMI. A lot of hidden to lit, hidden to entry features to where it's not only safe, but the vehicle is intuitive. We're going to begin. You notice the skyline display that flashes across the front. That is a technology made possible by our electronics expertise. That is a high resolution, low resolution display, only having the high resolution when you actually need it. That's great for energy management as well as the affordability. So really, this entire vehicle was built with not only a sustainable approach and a user experience approach, but keeping it affordable. We want it to be something that the consumers can buy, the OEMs can buy, and it's more realistic. Also, very important, this isn't a concept vehicle that's 10 to 15 years out. It's something that can be implemented next generation. Every technology that you see here on this vehicle has been internally validated and ready for our RFQ. You notice now too, where there was no previous display or touchscreen, you now have what we call our Air Vision. So that's a projection display made possible by our lighting, interiors, and electronics integration. It's a projection image. It almost looks like you're looking into the display, and even transparent, so you can see the IP and the space behind it, which is keeping that Scandinavian kind of living room feel. You can still see the fabric, and it really only is there when it's needed. This is activated by the center console controls. So you have traditional touch panel as well as the rotary dial, and that can be utilized in a very safe way. You notice the positioning of the driver. He's no longer compromising reaching for that display. Now we have an even more intuitive way, which is really interesting. So as the driver, he will look forward, and based on where his gaze is looking, he will actually be making different selections. You notice the speed is changing. If he looks at the ADAS hologram in front of him, you notice then the view is changing. And then if you look towards down back to the Air Vision, you can make further HMI selection based on that. So that is what we call gaze and select. It's utilizing this camera here, which is the driver monitoring system. So that is something that we already have to implement into vehicles today based on driver drowsiness. So we're taking that same hardware and cost, but utilizing it in another way to make HMI selection. So it's purely tracking his eye movement, all through that one system. So this way, he's never taking his hands off the wheel, and his eyes only have to leave the road for a brief second. It's very safe. Also, too, with the driver monitoring system, utilizing that same hardware, if the driver looks forward and then looks back at the e-mirror, you notice it brightens when he looks at it. When he is not looking at it, it is dim. That's one for energy management, to conserve the energy and the heat, and then also for driver distraction. There's no need to have extra stimulation and content when it's not being utilized. And all based on the positioning set back into the IP near the skyline also provides a very safe experience. Next, we have our firewall beneath the IP, which is enabling not only the deco vents, but also the drive-by-wire and steer-by-wire. So when the driver presses down on the pedal, it's utilizing the force sensing and the amount of pressure to change the speed above. Same with the braking. So it's replacing those mechanical accelerators. Also the steer-by-wire. You see the steering wheel, that is a stationary element in the front. So it's utilizing that haptic feedback and making small adjustments of the wheel based on the speed that you're going. Also important for there, you're utilizing a much smaller airbag because it's now stationary. So you no longer have to have that big airbag to compensate for whatever position the steering wheel's in case of a crash. Next, we're going to go into the different scenarios that you might want to use this cockpit. So first, we have the relax mode. The seats will go back. You can actually hear a crackling fire coming from the headrest. You can even incline it more. You notice the driver just grabbed his pillow. He's ready to relax. So this would be great for an electric vehicle charging station, picking your kids up from school, decompressing during a conference call, really just creating a relaxing atmosphere and a place that you can use beyond just driving. Next, we have working mode. So you'll notice the seat goes back into position, previously hidden beneath the IP. You have the car seat moving forward. And really, you're not losing a lot of space in the storage. The back panel only goes back a little bit, and the seat goes underneath it. So you really aren't compromising much storage to still have this completely new use space. So the table came out utilizing the same track system. The mechanism is now controlled from the seat, depending on where you would need it. But now you have a table. Bring your laptop, tend to the kids in the back. You can also entertain the kids on a long car ride. They're no longer going to ask, are we there yet? You have Mario Kart, a gaming console. It could be close to avoid driver distraction when they're driving. Again, if EV charging or stationary, the driver could also enjoy as well. Another important feature, the Vibe seat. So that is actually having vibration down here in the lower panel, and it's emulating either the music that's being played, and in this case, it's emulating the sound of the Mario Kart game. So even intensifying that user experience. Lastly, we have the taxi scenario with the popularity of Uber and Lyft. This is becoming more of a consumer need. So you'll notice the seat comes back partially. The Supremo seat also enables much greater leg room. So in this case, now you have space for your luggage. Also having space for the table now as well. And you notice the center console is coming back. So now if you had a passenger that was separate in the rear, you could have 3 different completely private zones for different ride-sharing scenarios. Another unique feature made possible by the architecture and the reduction of the IP is the extension of the center console. So in the center console, you also have a cooler and a heating element that even if your passenger in the taxi brought their lunch, you could even store it for them below. So really about utilizing that space in different use cases that I think we all can relate to. It's nothing out of the ordinary, and it's in, again, that mid-size SUV space. Lastly, we have the occupant monitoring system. Again, something that is becoming part of the regulations today, but again, transforming that same hardware and cost and utilizing it to track, say, I left my phone or my keys behind, which I know we all have done. It will actually track and light up and say, you have left something before you exit the vehicle, all through that same hardware and camera.
20 minutes of your life. Modular seating back there,
You notice the overhead console lighting, it's brightening up, so that's alerting the driver to be awake and exit the vehicle. It could also be tunable based on driver drowsiness, as well as comfort and wellness for, say, kids in the back trying to fall asleep. So the interior completely considers that sustainability approach and a big focus on user experience and affordability as well.